Okay, so this is the next little part of this pocket rocket, as I call it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the pallets. I've had a little look, and actually on the pallets themselves, they've got some felt, but they haven't got any leather. It's just 2 layers of felt, and that's not going to be the best sealing material, really. So what I'm going to do is take the pallets off, and I'm going to put an extra layer of thin leather on these, just because I think the leather will actually give you a little bit more of a seal, because it tends to give you a little bit more shape around the hole and it kind of just seals it. So I'm going to put some leather on these, but the first thing is to carefully take them off. So I've numbered them all from 1 up to 16. I've got 16 keys, so I know which one goes in which place, just in case there's some slight variations. And so I'm going to just carefully as I can, get these off. And I've just got to be really careful not to break anything. So I'm going to get a pair of pliers, lift up the key, and then gently maneuver. There we go. Maneuver the pallets off, because they're really quite delicate, these little ones. So I'm going to go along, take them all off, and then I'm going to put some new felt leather facings onto the pallet. So when I've got them all off, I'll show you the next bit. Okay, so I've got all the pallets off. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to just trim the felt that's already on them, because it hasn't been cut exactly a flush with the edges of the pallet. So I'm just going to get my very sharp craft knife. I'm just going to trim the pallet, the felt down as nicely as I can before I stick the leather on, because I just don't want to have these too big, because if they're not really cut flush, they can catch on adjacent pallets. So I'm just going to trim these off. So I'll just trim these, and then I'll show you where my next bit is. Okay, so I've now trimmed off pallets, and what I've found is some very highly soft, high quality leather, really. Less than a mil thick. Or maybe it's a mil. No, a bit less than a mil, I think. Anyway, it's nice and soft, and it's really good for pallets. I've used it lots of times before. So I've just found a little offcut, because I don't need very much. So I'm going to use this as an extra bit of facing. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my glue and my little brush. Actually, use my finger in the end, and then I'm going to just put some glue on the felt, and then just stick them neatly onto the leather. Let me just get my stuff ready, my glue. Okay, so I've got this. This is my favourite glue, Aleene's Turbo Tacky Glue. Works really well. Right, so just put some on here. Down there. And I'm just going to use my finger. Just put a little bit there. Make sure I go right to the edges. And just stick it neatly onto the leather as close to the edge as possible, so you're not wasting any of that leather by just, there's no point having it wasting it, because it's quite expensive. Right, all the way to the edges. But this leather will just give a very nice sealing material, but will improve the compression of the accordion, so that's going to be a good thing. So I'm going to try and do everything I can to make this accordion into a pocket rocket, and then hopefully, if it all works as I hope it will, then it can be really nice to have like a travelling little accordion if you're going on holiday, or take it into work for some reason or whatever. Something you can just put very easily into a bag and transport, and yeah, that's it really. So just going to finish off gluing these on. Yeah, right, I'll just finish it off and I'll show you when I've done them all. Okay, so that's all now stuck on there, and I'll just bring that so you can see. And I'm going to just put a bit of wood on the top here, just get it balanced like that. That's going to put a little bit of pressure just onto those pallets, and I'm going to leave that for an hour or two until that's nice and dry. And then what I'm going to do then is fix these back onto the arms, and while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm just going to clean off any bits of glue and stuff off these arms so that they're all nice and clean before I fix the pallets back on. Right, so I'll come back in a bit. Okay, there we are. I'm taking off the wood now, and I'm just going to go around with my sharp craft knife and cut these out as neatly as I can so that they don't have a minimum amount of leather sticking out, well, none really, so that then when they're on the arms they don't actually catch on something else. So let's start by just cutting these out. So yeah, just going to go around with my craft knife and as carefully as I can cut the pallets out. So I'll show you that when I've done that. Okay, now we're going to start gluing the pallets. Now I've tried different techniques for this, for getting the pallets onto the arms. I've tried hot glue, I've tried wax, hot wax, and different glues. Normally I use hot glue, but it's a bit messy. So today I'm going to try something a bit different. I'm going to use some Pattex glue, just because I've got this hanging around. See how it works. So I'm going to put some of that glue into the little slot, and then push it onto the arm. I'm going to do the inside arms first because otherwise you're never going to get to them if you start with the outside arms. So I just got a little brush, bit of the glue, so I'm going to just flood the slot deep inside that little slot there with that glue. Push down the key, slide it on, and then make sure that that pallet is covering the hole properly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look from the other side, and I just need to push it on a tiny bit further. So I'm just going to, and the good thing about using this glue is it doesn't set straight away, so it gives you a chance to reset it a tiny bit. So I'm just making sure that is set properly, and then just push the arms nice and firmly down, and that's it really. So I'm going to go along with my Pattex, and I'm just going to glue these arms down, but making sure that the hole is fully covered because I want to reduce any air leakages. So I'll show you that when I've done it. Okay, and there we are. So I've now got the pallets on. I'm quite pleased actually, it's nice and tidy. I've made sure all the openings are covered, so holding up to a light source and just have a good look, make sure there's no chinks of light, so hopefully that they're all going to be sealed. So that's definitely going to improve the compression, so any leakages, so that's good. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some flat sandpaper on a mirror, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to level off the base of this reed block. So all I'm going to do is put that on there like that, and I can already see two lines here which tell me that the outer edges are slightly raised. So once I've got an even pattern, then I'll stop. So I'm going to do that for a bit, and I'll show you that when I've done. Alrighty, so I've now flattened the base of this reed block, and it was pretty wavy, so I've got it as flat as I can. There's a few tiny little bit below spots, but I think it's going to be flat enough to make a difference. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put this back into the treble side, put the accordion back together, and just give it another little test and see if the pallet facing and the levelling and flattening out of the base of the reed block has made a difference to the compression of the accordion before I go any further. Okay, so let me just put it all back together and we'll see what it sounds like. Okay, so I can feel that the compression is tighter just by how hard it is to open and close the bellows. So I think having the better seals and flattening the reed block has made a difference. It still sounds pretty terrible because I haven't changed the reeds. And I can't get my hand through that there. But I think that compression has got better, which is a good thing. I think another thing I'm going to do to improve the compression is replace the bellows gasket as well, and get that seal around between the treble side and the bellows as tight as I can, and just check the seal between the bass side and the bellows. Even though there's no bellows pins, that's just glued in. I'll just check that seal as well. But I think that's a good start on this pocket rocket, as I'm going to call it. So in the next clips, what I'm going to do is take take the reeds out and swap the treble reeds for some Scandali high quality real reeds. I'll get the Scandali reeds cleaned up first, and then re-valve them and wax them in, and then see what that sounds like. So yeah, good progress. So I'm looking forward to keeping working on this little accordion. I'm hoping it's going to sound really nice. I think it will. Anyway, thanks for watching.